Secret that life has grown more expensive lately. A new survey is drilling down on how different groups of us are navigating all of it. It's called Tipflation. As Kent Erdahl reports, it's about the service charges, followed by tip lines on receipts or tip screens that pop up after buying something.
Hi. If you're wondering who's most likely to tip a lot for a latte, ask a barista.
I've noticed that a lot of younger people are more willing to be more generous when they tip.
Haley Rhodes knows that might just be her experience at Up Cafe and Coffee Roasters in Minneapolis. And though the new Pew Research survey on tipping culture in America doesn't provide direct evidence, it does show that 38% of 18 to 29-year-olds do view tipping as more of an obligation than a choice, compared to just 25% of those 50 and older.
Gen Z specifically, at least speaking from personal experience, we get a little bit anxious about what's expected of us in those types of situations. I feel kind of almost guilty sometimes pressing no tip, depending on where I am.
But if you remove the guilt trip that comes with the tip screen from the equation,
the younger you go, the less likely a driver will see a tip.
Shay Eisenman says the generational tipping trends she and her drivers at Shay Cab and Car Service see are flipped. And she thinks that's because of the rise of Uber.
Part of the premise of Uber when it came around was you don't need to tip.
Still, the survey found that roughly 61% of people said they always or often tip taxis or rideshares, far above the 25% who reported tipping their baristas.
Sounds good.
And while more and more people report being confused about if they should tip for different services, the group with the highest level of education, postgraduate degrees, struggled the most, with just 22% finding it very easy to figure out.
Whether I was a server at a restaurant or a bartender or a cab driver, I've noticed the higher educated oftentimes are not as good of tippers.
Yes.
Though she says the biggest indicator of all is how much they've served others.
The most generous people are oftentimes middle-class people, working-class people, service industry, and small business owners.
Thank you so much.
People assume because I am a chauffeur and I drive a limo that I only drive rich people and that rich people are the people that pay my bills. But actually, it's everybody in the middle that gives me my living. And then our most generous customers too.
It's like a solidarity thing. I appreciate your work and I understand that this is how you're making your money.
Have a great weekend.
But keep in mind, even baristas have their limits.
One time my car got impounded and a tip prompt showed up. So, it's everywhere now.
And if you're wondering.
No. That was the one time they had a sign on the door that was like, we don't want to take your car. You gave us no choice, but I feel like they had a choice.
Workers in those two industries say overall they have seen tips increase since the pandemic as people generally seem more appreciative for the services they provide.